Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. We discuss 6 questions in 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. We'll go ahead and get started. First question, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Sean, delighted to be with you and your audience. So I'm a recovering strategy management consultant, where I did the first dozen years of my career and then used my MBA from Wharton to move over to Wall Street and worked at JP Morgan as a deputy COO, so an executive there, and then left that to have a higher quality of life in academia, where I'm now a professor of finance at Gordon College. I also lead the career services unit here. And now that I have a lot more spare time and opportunity to do what I want to do, also lead a podcast like you. So I enjoy doing that. Mine's called Boardroom Bound. It's all about the board space.
Fantastic. Question number 2, what's the best thing about working with a team?
To me, it's the ability to deliver exponentially. So as an individual, you only have so many hours in the day. We're all limited to 24. There's no more than that. It's not possible. You can't stop sleeping forever. So you're limited by what you can do. But once you have a team under you, think about just one good person, your opportunities grow. And as the team grows, if you have great people under you, you literally multiply your efforts and the ability to deliver. And you go from having to do some of these simple things that others can do to being able to focus on the stuff that only you can do that no one else can. And that's when you really make a big difference.
I really like that delivering exponentially. I couldn't agree more. Question number 3, I hear from other leaders of teams that it can be a challenge to get team members engaged. Tell us your thoughts.
I think that's fair, but I think it also depends on the composition of the team. So it depends if I'm hiring or inheriting. So if I'm hiring, my philosophy is very different than most people. The only thing I care about are 2 things. Is someone intelligent and are they passionate? Because if they have that, they can do anything. It might take a little bit of time for them to get up to speed, but if I'm bringing someone onto my team and they possess those 2 traits, I'm confident they're going to be a good fit with me. They're going to be successful. I can use their strengths to leverage that. So I don't have that problem when I'm bringing it on. Although I recognize maybe if you're inheriting something else, it might be a different case.
That's very true. Inheriting is always a little bit of a different beast to tackle than just starting from scratch, but great point. Question number 4, what other piece of advice would you offer to leaders of teams?
You know, when I think about teamwork, there's probably 5 main elements to it. And the first one's all about making a plan. So I think you need to be clear. And I think you have to have measurable goals for what you want to accomplish. If you don't know what you're aiming for, you'll never know whether you got there, even if you were successful, and you wouldn't be able to define it. To me, I also like to have rules of the road. I think it's pretty important that you've got a set of values, some behaviors, cultural good stuff that you know that everybody on your team knows about, and they're all working together. We're all rowing in the same direction. To me, I think you have to show respect. I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to feel valued. And if they don't feel respected, they will not be motivated and they will not bring their best work, certainly not their best selves, to what you're doing as a team. And related to that, to me, at the end of the day, it's all about the team. You know, if I think about the great Bo Schembechler from Michigan, the football coach, the team, right? So the team is stronger when we're all doing our best and we're all delivering our individual roles and thinking collectively. And finally, for me, it's all about having the conversations. I don't think most people like having difficult conversations. Certainly, I don't necessarily like doing that, but I'm not going to kick the can down the road. If I'm the team leader and the buck stops with me, you need to be able to give people honest feedback. If they know that you're in their corner and you've been a champion for them, I think they're generally open to it. They want to do well, and maybe it's not the right opportunity for them or it's not the right time, but I would always rather know how I'm actually genuinely doing.
Such a great insight about helping and having those sometimes difficult conversations, because that is such a key component to really good leadership. So thank you so much for sharing that. Question number 5, what other successful leaders of teams, such as yourself, would you like to recognize that have had a positive influence in your life?
So when I think back to my time at JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon stands out, right? Clearly the best banker of his generation. When I talk a lot about the board space on my Boardroom Bound podcast, there are very few people I think should be both a CEO and a chairman. Jamie's probably one of the few that can pull it off. But just think about the organization he runs, 250,000 people, one of the largest organizations in the world. You know, you talk about a battleship doesn't turn on a dime. Like that probably doesn't even turn at all. And yet think about what he has done. He's built five Fortune 500 companies within one. It's an incredible machine. It's usually best of the best at everything it does. And he has been able to take situations around the world with different regulators, different problems, different concerns, and build a behemoth again and again and again. So impressive.
That's a great recommendation. Thank you. Well, question number 6, tell us about your first job.
So I'm a big fan, since I run a career services unit, helping our students learn about summer jobs and internships. And clearly there's a spectrum. As you get older, you grow and advance, they become more complex. When I think about my first job back in high school, I was working at the local movie theater. I was doing the schlepping work, all the stuff from selling the tickets to running the concession stand to cleaning up inside. And I remember my very first day, two strange things happened that luckily never happened again. And I remember when I cleaned up the theater one time, there's a weird smell in it. Someone had changed the kid's diaper and just left it on the corner, didn't bother to throw it out on the way out. All right, so I had to clean that up. And then a little bit later that evening, some people came out of one of the movie theaters, said it really smells in there. My boss said, go in and spray some Lysol in there. Went in and sprayed that. They came back out later and said, we've got to leave, please give us a refund. Afterwards, we found out that someone had thrown up in the movie theater and left without telling anybody else. So you learn a lot from your different jobs. That was my first one.
My goodness, those are some very, I've had some very interesting responses to this particular question in all these podcasts I've done, but that's a unique one because boy, that's some tough work there to have to clean up after people that have done whatever. So
humility is a good trait that we can all use more of, I'm sure.
That's true. That's true. Alexander, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How can people find you?
So probably the main ways are LinkedIn. That's where I am all my time. It's my favorite social media. Maybe some people don't think of social media, but that's where I live. So the linkedin.com/in/Alexander Lowry is my profile. The podcast is probably an easy way as well. So podcast.gordon.edu is where you'll find the Boardroom Bound podcast.
Very good. Thank you. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, you can find us on LinkedIn by searching Blue Sky Business Consulting. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day.